Harry M. Morse, James McCartan, Walter H. Smith. These are just a few of the thousands of fallen soldiers who are buried at the Annapolis National Cemetery. An organization called Wreaths Across America reminds us that even though they're gone, during the holiday season, they're not forgotten.
We live our lives and we truly forget the sacrifice that the military has made for us.
Christina Seidel has led the effort in Annapolis to place wreaths on every grave in the cemetery for the last 5 years. Annapolis National Cemetery is only one of many veteran cemeteries that Wreaths Across America honors. The organization coordinates holiday ceremonies in all 50 states across the country. And in Annapolis, the support continues to grow.
I think our first year we had 200 wreaths, our next year we had 500. Anyway, we have been growing.
But every year the mission fell short, until now.
Probably a half an hour ago, I had final confirmation that we have covered the entire cemetery this year.
And although small, the touch of holiday spirit is a way to say thank you.
By placing a simple wreath, and that's all it is, it's a simple wreath with a red bow, it just sort of lets everyone know that we remember their sacrifice.
In Annapolis, Mike Tart, CNS TV. Football practice at Bethesda Chevy Chase High School seems all too familiar, but something is noticeably unfamiliar. Meet Naomi Gross.
Football looked really fun. A lot of people kept telling me like, hey, you should play football.
Naomi's a senior at BCC. She's now the team's first female kickoff specialist. This fall, Sarah Thomas became the first full-schedule NFL female official. Jen Welter became the first female intern coach, and Kent State's April Goss became only the second female in NCAA history to score a point in a Division I college football game. Is it safe to call this a trend?
I think we're just going to see more and more.
You know, I definitely think with the growth of girls' sports, you're going to see that transfer to the girl who says, you know, I want to be that athlete, I want to go out, but I don't want to go out for just the girls' team.
Gross says her first play in a game was one she'll never forget.
Oh my God, I almost peed myself. My heart was just racing. I was so excited but so nervous.
Gross doesn't see her playing career extending past high school, but football has given her something much more lasting.
I'm probably going to be friends with these guys for like the rest of my life, honestly.
In Bethesda, Mike Tart, CNS TV. Less daylight equals more danger for drivers, bicyclists, and pedestrians using the roadways at night.
Every 5 days, a driver kills a pedestrian or a bicyclist in this region.
That's why city leaders and law enforcement from all across the DMV are kicking off the annual Street Smart campaign.
Ultimately, our goal is to save lives.
In 2013, an estimated 66,000 pedestrians were injured in traffic-related crashes across the country. 72% of those occurred after dark. The Street Smart campaign encourages drivers to slow down and look twice for pedestrians at crosswalks. But the issue is a two-way street.
The majority of pedestrian-involved crashes are the fault of the pedestrian.
To stay safe during this dangerous time of year, the campaign encourages bicyclists to ride in the direction of traffic and wear bright colors, walkers to stay off their phones and use the crosswalks, and for drivers to yield to pedestrians and obey the speed limit.
When your life is at risk, it is so very important to take safety seriously.
And with Halloween right around the corner,
crossing the street should not have to be so scary.
In Alexandria, Mike Tart, CNS TV. When school lets out, kids in Southeast DC make their way here, spending time doing homework, exercising, and even learning how to grow food and eat healthy.
All right.
The Washington Nationals Youth Baseball Academy, located in the heart of one of the roughest communities in DC, is changing lives, one kid at a time.
I wish more teams would do this, not just MLB teams, but professional sports, period. Provide these type of opportunities to youth all across the country.
3 days a week, 3rd through 8th grade students learn more than just how to play a sport.
We're believers in holistic youth development and experiential education.
Really, it's developing the whole child and using baseball and softball as just the hook.
And although the program is still relatively new, the Academy opened about 2 years ago, its impact is already being felt.
I've seen kids that came in the door that wouldn't eat, they wouldn't talk, they didn't work well with others, they didn't even want to play the sport, they didn't want to be here. And now there's some of our most vocal children. They love being here, their grades have improved, their test scores have improved. So I see the changes all the time.
But does change mean success? It may take time to answer that question.
I know we'll be successful when our kids are graduating from high school, when they're going on to college, when they're successful contributing members of their community.
In Washington, Mike Tart, CNS TV. Electronic cigarettes, not only potentially harmful to users, but to those around them.
It doesn't belong in public. People want to smoke, fine, but they should not force the effluent or whatever comes out on other people.
Members of the Prince George's County Council overwhelmingly approved legislation limiting the use of e-cigarettes in all places but one. Behind me is where the new MGM Casino will open in 2016. It will be the only place in Prince George's County where a person is banned from smoking cigarettes, but is allowed to smoke e-cigarettes. And many are disappointed with the council's decision to allow that. It's a decision that some say could be harmful for casino workers.
I just didn't see the wisdom in removing that and protecting all of the workers in the county.
The council's decision had the support of the soon-to-open casino.
We understand how the bill is written, that the e-cigarettes would be allowed in the casino portion of the resort, and we are in favor of that.
Opponents say e-cigarettes produce secondhand smoke with aerosol that can be harmful.
In that aerosol are many chemicals that have been found to cause cancer later in life.
And casino workers would be exposed to the aerosol for up to 9 hours a day.
It's a worker health and safety issue. It's unfair. I think it's discriminatory, frankly. And I think we're better than that in this county. I'd like to think we are.
The council did indicate it would be willing to consider alternatives, like private smoking areas with separate ventilation systems in the casino, at another time. In Upper Marlboro, Mike Tart, CNS TV. When you find yourself in a potential life and death situation, the call for help often goes out to the local fire department. But what you might not know is that the majority of those who answer the call are volunteers.
Volunteering is fun for me, but ultimately I don't do this for myself. I volunteer for my community and I volunteer for the people that I'm going to help.
There are over 1 million volunteers in the United States, 30,000 of them from Maryland.
Many localities across the country simply cannot afford a career department and rely on volunteers to protect their community and their members.
The time donated by volunteer firefighters saves the country up to $140 billion a year. But there's a problem. Over the past 3 decades, the number of volunteers, firefighters, and EMTs has declined, while the call volume has tripled. That's why the National Volunteer Fire Council is launching their Make Me a Firefighter campaign.
Volunteers are critical to our nation's fire and emergency services.
Their goal? To inspire the next generation of volunteer firefighters and ultimately save lives, like Carla's, who nearly died from a massive blood clot.
I remember, someone saying, "You're going to be okay, we're going to get you there, just hold on." And just even them saying something so small as my name made me feel like I was going to be okay.
And although volunteers don't receive compensation in the form of money, the reward is priceless.
There's nothing better in life to know that you are making a difference.
In Washington, Mike Tart, CNS TV. Dresses, dresses, and more dresses. Over 2,000 to be exact filled the Embassy Suites near BWI today, with many marked more than half off retail.
There have been some very happy brides and brides' moms that can afford a little bit more now that the dress is discounted.
The once-in-a-lifetime price has a backstory that's anything but casual. All of the proceeds from today's event go to the Association of American Medical Colleges, a nonprofit organization that was recently hit by a local scam artist. Afanya Green, a former employee at AACM who owned a bridal shop of her own, embezzled over $5.1 million from the organization. So in stepped the General Services Administration and the U.S. Marshals.
This is our second bridal shop that was seized that we sold on behalf of Marshals this year.
The goal? To raise money for the AACM using the assets from the person who did the organization wrong.
The more we can sell, the more we can then pay back those who were defrauded.
And why stop at dresses?
We have tiaras, we have veils, we have shoes, we have other things that can, the bride can walk out and be totally satisfied after they leave here and they have a little money left for the reception, so.
Come one, come all, and have at it for the dresses.
In Baltimore, Mike Tart, CNS TV. Throughout the history of sports, there have been trailblazers who've paved the way for others to follow. Those who have opened doors, broken down barriers, and made the impossible possible.
Well, obviously, there were no female sports reporters really until just in the last, 35, 40 years.
In 2000, Pam Ward became the first woman to call play-by-play on a Division I college football game. But the road to that game wasn't free of obstacles.
I had news directors say to me when I was trying to get my first job that this community isn't ready for a woman to do sports.
And a familiar face was hard to find for inspiration as a young reporter.
I looked up to people like Pat Summerall was calling football in the National Football League. I loved him. But yeah, there were no women.
But in the late 1970s, things were beginning to change.
Robin Herman at the New York Times was one of the very first to get access to locker rooms, a pioneer in that sense.
Although the door was open, the attitude and mindset of many players, coaches, and team personnel would take much longer to change.
I was thrown out of a couple locker rooms back in the 80s, even when women were permitted in locker rooms. People were like, oh, you shouldn't be in here. And I had to say, yes, I can be in here.
Today, a new generation of female sports reporters are filling jobs that were off limits no more than a half century ago. And they have those pioneers to thank.
Allie Jenkins, Christine Brennan, they sort of laid the foundation. Like they said, when they started, they couldn't even go in the locker room. And I've been welcomed, and the players know what to expect.
It's always going to be easier for the next generation. They're going to have role models. They're going to have people they can look to and say, why not me? And there have been great strides made, but there still needs to be a lot more done.
But above all, never give up on your dreams.
Don't take no for an answer. Grow a thick skin, and if you love it, just find somebody who will say yes, and then take off with it.
I'm Mike Tart, reporting from College Park.
Try to tell these guys lifting weights is lifting weights. I'm not saying, I respect what I do. I respect my degree, my Master of Science degree in exercise science. But at the end of the day, I understand what lifting weights is. I'm not reinventing anything. I use that as a medium to connect with young minds and get them to work hard. My name is Drew Wilson. I'm the Director of Strength and Conditioning for football at the University of Maryland. But I grew up in a very structured household. One thing both my parents did teach me was working hard. They said no matter what happens to you in life, if you work hard, you'll always be successful, and people can't deny you advancement in whatever you want to do, whether it be in your career or in school or whatever you want to do. Seeing a player succeed on the field, off the field, in life, that's awesome. It makes me realize I'm doing the right thing the right way. There's many times that I thought that, I'm never going to be a director, I'm never going to be a head guy, And you always have doubt because you're working hard. Everybody's working hard. But don't ever give up. It'll happen. You got it. They call it the war of attrition. Everybody goes through their battles, but not everybody's going to survive. There are going to be people that are going to give up along the way. Just make sure it's not you, the one that's giving up.
2 years ago, my uncle gave me his old 70s road bike. That whole summer, I didn't have a job or anything, so I started biking every day. And I really started getting into it, and I started like getting the gear and kind of learning how to very preliminarily fix my bike. That kind of started me wondering, I was like, what else is there? How else can I, improve my bike? So my name is Alex Ahern. I am a junior at the University of Maryland, and I'm a hearing and speech major. I actually didn't know we had a bike shop on campus. As soon as I found out, I applied, like, immediately. And, it was just word of mouth. Someone was like, oh, we have a bike shop on campus. I was like, are you serious? I'm applying there immediately. I think one of the best things about our bike shop is that it's not, a lot of bike shops are snobby. If you don't know anything about bikes, like, they're gonna kind of judge you for that. But what we do here is we actually work with our patrons and kind of teach them what we're doing. They'll ask me, like, oh, so what are you doing here? I'll be able to, like, show them and in depth kind of explain why this is what I need to do to their bike for them to be able to ride it again. So I think it's important to work somewhere where they can just see that you have passion for something. Like, that's what's important. You can train at a bike institute for years, but if you're not in here loving to help people and just loving fixing bikes, like, it doesn't matter.
For over a century, the National Collegiate Athletic Association, better known as the NCAA, has been focused on amateurism, meaning that an athlete is not considered a professional and therefore shouldn't be paid to play a college sport.
Shabazz, you've just been named the most outstanding player of the Final Four. Congratulations.
A year ago, UConn star guard Shabazz Napier told reporters, "I go to sleep starving." Schools make millions of dollars from 3 categories: television contracts, ticket sales, and merchandise sales. Many believe that it's wrong not to pay athletes when schools are making so much money off of their talents.
I think they should be compensated. It's a lot of sacrifice that's placed on into athletics. There are contact sports. There are people that are psychologically damaged, physically damaged, financially injured. There's a lot of sacrifices that come with that.
Others believe that athletes are students first and should be focused on academics, not making money.
I think if you're going to college, your aim ought to be on academics first, athletics second, regardless of how good you are in a particular sport.
The debate is complicated because even those who believe athletes should be paid don't agree on what that system would look like. Some believe in a system that is performance-based.
But, I think that it should be based on ability, because you can't just stamp a cookie cutter payment to each athlete.
Others believe that an athlete should be paid an hourly wage.
It doesn't have to be necessarily less than minimum wage or greater than minimum wage, but something to allow a student to have a sense of some form of self-worth financially.
If the NCAA does allow student athletes to begin getting paid to play, it will mean big changes for college athletics in the years to come. Mike Tart, Journalism 661, College Park. Today, the National Mall transformed from a tourist attraction into a battlefield. However, the battle wasn't fought with swords, fists, or guns. No, this battle had a very specific weapon of choice: pillows. Over 1,000 people took part in the mayhem, swinging away for hours under the shadow of the Washington Monument to celebrate the 7th annual International Pillow Fight Day. For some, the fight felt like it was straight out of an action movie.
Walking into the trenches was absolutely terrifying. It was like the Hunger Games, and people show no mercy.
The event is sponsored by an organization called the Urban Playground Movement. Its mission is to get people off the couch and to be more active. Tens of thousands of people in more than 100 cities worldwide are taking part in International Pillow Fight Day. I think that more than a couple people will be getting whacked in the face. Cities like Berlin, Athens, Hong Kong, and Madrid all had massive pillow fights of their own. The DC pillow fight brought out some interesting characters. One in particular, who calls himself Stay Puffed, described his greatest battle.
I mean, just charging at each other from across the field, just pillows drawn, it was merciless, blood everywhere.
When it was all said and done, the only thing left on the battlefield were the remains of pillows that had made the ultimate sacrifice. Mike Tart, Journalism 661, Washington, D.C.